No, Mary, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, just wanted to ask.
And we can begin.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Haggerty, the CEO of the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors. I want to thank you all for joining us for our first ever virtual Members Day. I'm not sure about you, but I'm kind of hoping it's our last virtual Members Day. Our team has done an incredible job setting up these live events throughout our history, but we've actually worked very hard to make today's virtual event an exciting event with a lot of great information to help you in your business and your personal lives. I want to thank O'Donnell and Cullen Property Tax Consultants, our premier sponsors, along with all the other sponsors and presenters for making this Member Day possible. And actually, it's not Member Day, it's Member Days because it's over the next 2 days. Please enjoy today and remember to join us tomorrow for our keynote address with Ricky Mendez, an international speaker, sales trainer, and business coach. Ricky's going to be on at 10:30. And please remember to also stay on for the annual membership meeting that immediately follows at 12 noon. Ricky's topic tomorrow is so many ways to win, even in these challenging times. Here to introduce our first session is Deb Bedetti, who's chaired our Member Day committee for many years. Deb, passing it off to you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. We are disappointed we are not all physically together today for Members Day, but we are very excited to bring you Members Day in this format. Thank you to the HGAR staff for all their hard work to make this happen. Our first session is on stress reduction for realtors. I would like to introduce our sponsors for this event and give them each a minute to say hello to you. Joanne Murray with Allen M. Block Agency.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joanne Murray. I'm president of the Allen Block Insurance, and I'm so happy to sponsor HGAR's first virtual Members Day. We've all been through a stressful year, and I'm so impressed with the members of HGAR who have had to adapt to so many stressful changes during this pandemic. The Allen Block Insurance team's been here to work with HGAR to provide their members with help with insurance for their clients. We're here to answer any insurance questions you may have, provide flood insurance consultation or flood zone documentation. Our agency is located in Tarrytown and provides home, auto, umbrella, and business insurance. Please don't hesitate to call myself, Neil, or Laura if you have insurance questions. While we can't meet face-to-face this year, if you email us with your address, we will send you some swag promotional items because we miss not having those tables and getting to see all of you. You can email me at joanne@ambins.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. I'd like to introduce Irene Amato next with ASAP Mortgage.
Hello, everyone. So yes, I agree with Joanne. It's been a tough, year, and I love sponsoring this session because I feel that we all really need it. Stress reduction is really important. We've all been through so much, and it's difficult to navigate it, especially that our industry has, given us such an amazing 6 or 7 months of being busy, but yet our entire lives have changed. So it's really a lot of balance that's going on. I myself know I had COVID, and I am definitely practicing stress reduction. It was a very eye-opening thing to happen. So I love that Dr. McGinn is doing this session. I am the owner of ASAP Mortgage. I think I forgot to say that. And for most of you who know us, you know what we do, but we are a small mortgage brokerage firm that has 7 office locations from New York City up to Dutchess County, and we are opening in Orange County later this year. We service the consumers the way you do. It is a one-on-one transaction. We are not a big bank, but we work with the big banks. So what we do is we're the liaison, getting the deals done. And in this day and age, that's very important, especially for your self-employed borrowers, to have some transaction 30 days, but I can full to still be a part of Members Day and that it is taking place. Thank you, Richard and and Gary for making it happen, because that's the thing. We have to plow through and make things happen. So I'm really excited to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to a great session from Dr. McGinn. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene, and we're glad you're feeling better. I'd like to introduce Risa Hogue with GMG Public Relations.
Good morning, everybody. I am Risa Hogue, and I'm president of GMG. I'm so pleased to be one of the sponsors for this event this morning. We are actually celebrating our 30th anniversary at GMG PR, and we've been bringing our award-winning creativity to clients across a wide range of industries for those 3 decades. In fact, Dr. Lotta McGinn and Cognitive Behavioral Consultants is one of our clients. Some of you may have already seen the new Suez rebate commercial with Bailey the Beaver on TV and on Facebook with the theme, "Oh, the water you'll save." It's modeled after Dr. Seuss' book, and Bailey was created by me and our creative team here at GMG. We also provide PR support to Rockland Community College. And of course, we've been serving the real estate industry since day one with our client Robert Withers of M1 Capital and Statewide Abstract, both of which we still serve, so 3 decades later. And we just added Tryon Real Estate Management, to our list of prestigious clients. We work with a lot of nonprofits as well. We're known for our creative ideas, our comprehensive approach, and our willingness to go the extra mile. Our goal is to put our clients in the spotlight, and we do that by offering traditional PR and marketing support and unique advertising and social media campaigns that are informative and engaging. Our clients appreciate our extreme hands-on support and our creative approach to every challenge. I also love showing people how to use LinkedIn. So we do that one-on-one, and I also work with people in groups. So if you're looking to update your marketing game, increase your visibility, please reach out to me at GMG PR, and I'd be happy to discuss your challenges. My thanks again to Mary Prehistto and the team at Hagar, and please enjoy the talk by Dr. Lotta McGinn and the rest of the workshops today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Risa. I'd like to introduce Kathy Massaregli and Stephanie Liggio with Judicial Title Insurance Agency.
Thank you, Deb. Great to be with everyone this morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity for the HGAR for this opportunity. Kathy and I are happy to be with Judicial Title. We're a premier title agent in the state of New York, serving all of your local and national needs for residential, commercial, and co-op business. We've been very fortunate to work alongside of the realtors and mortgage professionals this very busy season, and thank you for bearing with us through these difficult times. We are working as diligently as possible, and we are available if anyone needs any assistance with a listing or with questions. Kathy and I always take calls from friends and colleagues. If you have a question about how a situation is being handled with other professionals, we're always happy to open those doors and make introductions for you as well. Have a wonderful day, enjoy the program, and we'll see you all in person next year.
Thank you. And now on to our first session, Stress Reduction for Realtors with Dr. Lotta McGinn of Cognitive and Behavioral Consultants. CBC is a clinical and training center comprised of internationally recognized mental health professionals delivering cutting-edge treatments to adults, adolescents, and children. Founded in 2004 by Drs. Lotta K. McGinn and Alec L. Miller, leaders of cognitive and dialectical behavioral therapies, the CBC team provides a large array of clinical and wellness services to the public, as well as custom designed programs for schools and businesses. Welcome, Dr. Lotta McGinn.
Thank you, Deb, for that introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you to Richard and the rest of the HCAR team, Mary Prehistto, for inviting me, and Gary and the whole team. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the sponsors of this event, Risa, Joanne, Stephanie, and Irene. I appreciate this event being sponsored. I'm so delighted to be here. I will go ahead and share my screen. And as Deb mentioned, I'm Lotta McGinn, and I'm the co-founder of Cognitive and Behavioral Consultants. I'm also a professor of Psychology at Yeshiva University. So I want to talk about, I'm going to divide up the talk into three sections. So I'll start with the context that we find ourselves in, the consequences of
And
the
made Marie aware
context.
that Matt was coming. I didn't tell her
And-
what it was. I said, Matt's coming to pick up this box.
I'm sorry? Gary, did you?
Our apologies. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to divide up the talk into three sections. One is the context that we find ourselves in, the consequences of that, and then things that we can do to cope, to help us through this context. So let's start with the context. I'm going to start actually before COVID. What I'm going to do is really talk about, pre-COVID, our lives have been really transformed in the 21st century, and even more so over the last 10, 15 years. We've been living far busier and extraordinarily fast-paced lives at home and at work, facing intense and ever-rising pressures, facing some actual dangers such as school shootings and so on. All this with far less social support than ever before. Research shows that social support is protective against stress. In the past 10 years, there's been an increasing recognition of stress, anxiety, depression, and their impact on us. Anxiety and depression are extremely costly conditions to us, to the economy. Depression, for example, is the leading cause of disability in the world, including medical illnesses. The world has been hurtling at a speed that we haven't really seen before, and we've all been on information overload. The digital age that we live in has been responsible for a large part of this transformation. We are inundated 24/7 with news media, social media that fuels and increases our perception of danger in the world, and has now become ensconced as our Jones next door. I said to my husband last year that we're going so fast that one day this warp speed is going to explode. There will be a big bang and we'll start over. So welcome to the Big Bang, right? Much has happened in our world over the last 6 months. The world has not experienced a pandemic the like since 1918, since the Spanish flu, economic downturns since 1929, the racist killings of George Floyd and others, peaceful protests, violent clashes and looting since the 60s. What we're experiencing is unprecedented and has potentially serious consequences for our well-being. So what is the pre-COVID context for realtors? Managing often competing demands of buyers and sellers, working long and erratic hours, competition between companies, between individuals, and general sense of unpredictability. Will the sale happen in a month, in a year? And then general ups and downs off the market. So the COVID-19 context for you, of course, there's COVID, the stress of getting COVID. People have gotten COVID, have had loved ones who've gotten it, have lost loved ones to it. Certainly the market dropped right away, so there were no sales. That's certainly stressful. And that has continued in some markets. And then other markets have seen way too many sales. And so that creates its own degree of stress, even if that's positive. There's other stress, in terms of safely showing homes, controlling crowds at open houses, managing and buyers who now have COVID-related stress, so they're more stressed out and have also been living at home, and cooped up. So there's that. So what are the consequences of this, the context that we find ourselves in? So let's talk about what stress is. So how do you define stress? Stress is really a feeling of emotional or physical tension that you feel. And it's your mind and body's reaction to a change. It could be a challenge or a demand. And it affects everyone. Everyone experiences stress from time to time. There are different types of stress. And they carry, different risks. So it could be a one-time or a short-term occurrence or it can happen repeatedly over a long term. Some people may cope with stress more effectively than others and may recover. So it could be stress brought about by a sudden negative change, such as losing a job or a divorce or an illness, or it could be positive stress, such as getting married or having a baby. And then there are traumatic stresses, such as experiencing a major accident or a war or a disaster, natural disaster. And sometimes people experience traumatic stress as a result of that. So then comes the pandemic, right? So what has been going on? So what happened right after the pandemic hit, and what did we find ourselves? And these are the Bitmojis I sent my friends at the time. So there was a stress of getting COVID. It was relentless work for me and my team, right? Transitioning to telehealth, teletraining, managing and supporting staff, trainees, colleagues, clients, cleaning, not going out as much, not seeing friends and family, Zoom fatigue, getting up early, and essentially feeling depleted. So let's talk about why do we have stress and what function does it serve? So stress, short-term stress is really quite normal and can be very positive. So much of what we experience in stress is emotions. So the emotions are really, from an evolutionary perspective, emotions are inbuilt alarms that we have, and they help us survive. So as an example, anxiety is an alarm for imminent danger. And that is, so the essential thing about that is that these emotions, such as anxiety, are emotional alarms, just like a fire alarm that signals that a fire is coming. Anxiety is an alarm for imminent danger. So our brain signals that we're in danger, and that anxiety is there to help us survive. And it basically, what it does is it motivates us to act. And that's another key thing about emotions, is that they're just meant to be alarms, one. Two, they're meant to be protective. So, and three, they trigger action to help us survive. So they motivate us to act, to avoid threats, to achieve goals. So as an example, if anxiety is a reaction to danger, it helps us fight the danger, flee from the danger. And this is again based on our old brain. So the time when we were in our prehistoric selves, right? Freezing and fainting were also adaptive reactions to acute danger. So, having acute stress is really normal and it's fantastic. It can motivate you. Long-term stress is harmful to your health. So our prehistoric brains are not really equipped for a long-term threat. They're very well equipped for short-term threat. They're simply not built for this relentless, persistent threat that we've been experiencing for a while, and especially this year. Our emotions, thoughts, behaviors are being triggered 24/7, way beyond the purpose they evolved for. So coping with the impact of stress can be challenging because the source of long-term stress is more constant than acute stress, right? So the body never receives that signal to return to relaxation. And that's why it can affect your immune system, your digestive system, your cardiovascular system, your sleep, even reproductive systems. So over time, this continued strain that you feel can lead to, make you more vulnerable to getting the flu, serious health problems such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and so on. So what we're going through now is really, we're on simultaneous overdrive and underdrive. And we have all experienced increases in anxiety and sadness since COVID hit. And that's because we have an emotional system that is working as it should, right? Because COVID is a threat to us, so it should provoke fear. Our lifestyle changes have been depressing. However, the way we react to this stress and circumstances can actually make things worse. There are ways in which we can lessen the negative intensity of these experiences. We just need to turn the dial down so that what we're experiencing is more manageable. And then although many of us will eventually go back to normal once things calm down, it is important to remember that chronic stress that we're feeling is not good even for us. and if not checked, the potential mental health consequences of chronic fear, countless losses, social isolation, and significant disruption of people's day-to-day life may be significant, and even more so for people who are vulnerable. So let's break down what stress comprises of. So one is it comprises of feelings that we have. So we have anxiety, sadness, anger, guilt, shame, any of these emotions. These emotions also come with physical sensations that can be disruptive and uncomfortable and can be the source of continued stress. So experiencing muscle tension, restlessness, keyed up on edge, having sleep disturbances, getting tired very easily, difficulty concentrating, and your mind going blank and feeling slowed down. You can also experience, that's one, right? So you feel negative feelings. You can also have unhelpful behaviors that can actually increase the stress response. So as an example, right, when COVID hit, we had a lack of structure and routine, right? Work and home just became the same. We might have had much poorer sleep hygiene and general self-care. We might also be, the situation that we've been finding ourselves in is so aversive that we might be trying very hard to suppress negative feelings and thoughts, which can actually backfire. We also may be spending a lot of time ruminating about the circumstances that we find ourselves in, and that could also be unhelpful. Other behaviors that we might see, we might be, obviously we're doing fewer activities that give us positive rewards. We were home for so many months, right? We might be like going, we might not be doing things that we used to enjoy, like going to a movie or going hiking. We might be doing more activities that are punishing, for example, if you're on Zoom all day, having meeting after meeting. We might also be doing more activities that help us escape from stress, which can be overused. So for example, maybe drinking more alcohol, as an example. We might also not be facing things that create stress, like just avoiding reading the news entirely. On the other hand, we might be doing the opposite. We might be paying too much selective attention to stressful things. So maybe reading the news or being on TV all day long. The third part of stress is the unhelpful ways of thinking. So what we know is that when you have excessively negative, inflexible, and extreme ways of thinking about situations, about consequences of those situations, about yourself, even about others and the world, that can actually create and maintain and increase stress. So this is the worst thing that has happened to me in the world, or I'm going to be ruined and suffer forever. Also that we know that the other kinds of thoughts, when we have judgments of ourselves and judgment of others, really, on whether it's actions that they're taking or our reactions. You might say, oh my goodness, I've been so ashamed that I'm eating too much, or, I should have been doing this, or I shouldn't have been laying in bed when it happened, or watching so much TV, or, my anxiety is out of control, or I'm going to have a nervous breakdown, or, judgments of other people as well. So the ironic thing we know from research is that even if you have judgments of others, that can create stress for you. So, my boss didn't call me to see how I was. He doesn't care. And then finally, thinking that negative events have wide and sweeping consequences on yourself and the whole world forever. I will never recover from this. I'll never get a job, or I'll never meet someone. So again, the key here is having very negative, but very inflexible and extreme thinking, sort of polarized ways of thinking. Other thoughts that are unhelpful, that can create stress and increase stress that you're in, is when you overestimate the likelihood that negative things will happen, So yes, COVID is definitely a reality for us. However, if we overestimate the likelihood that we will get COVID despite taking all protective measures, I'm definitely going to get COVID, right? 100%, right? That's an overestimation. Um, also engaging in catastrophic thinking. So I'm not just going to get COVID, I'm just going to die, right? Even if you're not in a risk group. Now, of course, there's a possibility, but it is when you have catastrophic thinking where you assume the worst will happen. And then when you start perceiving any even safe events as dangerous, well, I can't get out of my house at all, right? Or feeling that this sense of threat or hopelessness will never go away. And feeling, so that's one. So thinking this virus will never go away, the economy will never recover, right? At the same time, also thinking that the impact of these negative things is permanent and negative can also be damaging, meaning that can actually increase your stress. So when you think, I will never get over this, or I will never be the same again, assuming, saying something like that to yourself, that inner dialogue is very powerful. And that powerful inner dialogue can create stress. And then thinking that you are not capable of handling bad things, I'm not strong enough to cope with this, can also create stress. So what do we do about it? So there are ways to manage stress. So the last section of this talk will be on coping. And what I'm going to be focusing on is cognitive and behavioral skills to achieve wellness. There is a wealth of research starting in the 50s on CBT that show that these are skills that help you manage stress. So I'm going to first give you a sort of a view towards the CBT lens, and I'll go into the skills. So the CBT lens essentially says that those components of stress that we spoke about, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, all intersect and all make each other worse. So when you have a thought that something bad will happen, you feel anxiety, you might do something unhelpful. And if you do something unhelpful, like let's say you are avoiding doing a project, like procrastinating, that can then make your thoughts worse. So what CBT focuses on is how to intervene at all of those three levels. So do something to help your way of thinking, to help the way that you feel, to help the way that you're acting, your actions that you take, so that they don't all become a vicious cycle and create more and more stress for you. So to make it helpful, I've created an acronym. These are called ADAPT skills. So these ADAPT skills will hopefully help you manage stress. So it's accept how I feel, dial it down, actions to combat stress, physical retraining to ease your sustained tension, and then thoughts to combat stress. So that way the actions, physical training, and the thoughts help your feelings, behaviors, and thinking. So let's start with the first, accept how I feel, right? So manage your prehistoric brain. So accepting all emotions that you feel, recognizing that emotions are protective. They're there as an alarm. They're there to help me survive this pandemic. Fear and anxiety, we said, is a reaction to danger. It's normal for me to feel anxious because people can die from COVID. So this is fear. Fear is good. I'm grateful to my ancestors for giving me this old brain that can help me survive, right? I'm cleaning and disinfecting because I'm anxious, right? I'm hypervigilant to cues, such as if an ambulance goes by, to remind me to protect myself. I'm not maybe sleeping as well because my brain wants to make sure I pay attention to danger, right? So what can you tell yourself? Okay, these feelings suck, right? My negative emotions are helping me survive this pandemic. Fear and anxiety is a normal reaction to danger. Trying to stop these emotions is not helpful. So on the one hand, it's normalizing and accepting your prehistoric brain and recognizing it's there to protect you, and empathizing with yourself and validating that the suffering or any suffering you're having is real. And that saying to yourself, suppressing my thoughts and emotions is unhelpful, because as you try very hard to suppress them, it just bounces back up again. So you can say, well, fear and anxiety is a normal reaction to danger. So trying to stop these feelings is not helpful for me and may be harmful. Okay, so you can even, and so anxiety we spoke about, right? It's normal to feel anxious. It's also normal to feel sadness because it's a normal reaction to loss. You can say it's helping me cope with this loss. It's okay to feel sad. Sadness is a reaction to loss. So many lives have been lost. People are losing jobs, right? Or you can say, I've lost that part of myself that is able to go out into the world, right? Or you can say, I've lost stability in the world. And that way you're empathizing with yourself for these emotions and not judging yourself for having them. That's the first step of adapt. So that's accept how I feel. The second is dialing it down, right? The level of fear, because it's been going on for so long, right, needs to be dialed down, right? COVID is not a tiger that is going to launch on you and jump on you right now. This could be going on for a while. I can't be in the sustained stress, so that I need to calm my body. I need to calm my brain. I need to calm my behaviors, right? Otherwise, I will be depleted. So the third part of adapt is actions that you can take to combat stress. So what are they? So they are general actions to start off with: maintaining structure, stability, predictability, making efforts to reestablish routines, rules, engaging in familiar rituals like getting dressed in the morning, just as you would be doing to go to work. Making sure that you are, of course, protecting yourself from physical harm, you're taking safety precautions, but also restricting and protecting yourself from psychological harm, not doing too much in terms of media exposure. The other thing, and in psychology, in CBT, we call it stimulus control, restricting where you work so that you're not working, because you're trying to sort of move around, working in your study, working in the dining room, in the kitchen, in the living room, on your bed. Because what happens is then your brain begins to associate every area of your house with work. If you also want to not engage in negative habits too much, like let's say you're eating more than you typically did, or you're drinking more, or some other habit, right? If you're trying to contain it, the first thing that you can do is just restrict where you do it. So if you eat everywhere in the house, in every room of your house, when you're there in those rooms, your brain will start associating those areas with food. So any negative habits you have, you can restrict where you do. And that's a good way of controlling the environment. The second is, let's talk about common emotions. Now, of course, there's lots of emotions we may be feeling, but let's talk about sadness, right? I said that sadness is a reaction to loss. So let's pay attention to that alarm. What is it saying? So part of what that's saying, and that's why we need to pay attention to that emotional alarm, right, is to say, all right, I need to rest. So a certain degree of eating less or sleeping well, some time on your own to rest, Zoom-free days so that you can overcome your stress or state of depletion. And then there is restore. So there's rest on the one hand and restoring yourself on the other hand, and both should be used in moderation. So if you have rest and solitude, but if that's all you're doing, that could also increase the sadness. So restoring, so connecting with family and friends, engaging in activities. We know from research that if you engage in activities that create pleasure, mastery, and there's a social connection, that is an antidepressant activity. So doing something, so as an example, if you like to listen to music, that's an example of a pleasurable activity. A mastery activity may be something that doesn't give you a pleasure, like exercising, or it could be something that gives you both. So you might be playing the violin and that gives you pleasure and gives you a sense of mastery. And then making sure there's at least a certain percentage of activities that are social in nature. So connecting with friends, calling them, or being on Zoom. And that may depend on whether you're more extroverted or introverted, the degree of contact you have. But doing something, connecting with others. The other thing we know that helps sadness is helping others. So the more you do to help others, the less depressed or sad you will feel. So again, if the sadness is continuing, paying attention to it, thinking, not I want to stop feeling it, but what can I do, right? So these are actions that we're focusing on right now. So the more actions that you do like this activity diet, if you will, if you maintain, the less sadness you will feel. Let's talk about anxiety, right? Another very common feature of stress. The more that so right now, some degree of avoidance is good, right? Because we need to be physically distant. We need to do some cleaning rituals in moderation, right? So you need to, clean your house, or you need to wash your hands for 20 seconds, right? They're good in moderation, wear a mask and so on. However, if you do too much of it, and also, let's say you also have to stay informed, but really not too much. So on the one hand, you have to wash your hands. On the other hand, you don't have to Clorox all your vegetables, right? So again, in moderation. So paying attention to that anxiety. If I'm feeling anxious, I'm in danger, or at least I'm perceiving danger. So what can I do? So if I'm doing the things I should in moderation, then doing other things and avoiding everything else will just continue that anxiety and not help you. So you might do things like removing your phone from your room and sleeping in complete darkness, as an example, stopping work on the computer at least an hour before bedtime. And so these are ways that even though we are in some danger, you're protecting yourself, now you need to do something else in moderation. So the fourth part of ADAPT is physical retraining. So one thing we know is that sustained stress, okay, can actually affect your physical comfort. So you might be having headaches, or you might be grinding your teeth, or clenching your jaw, or noticing that your stomach is under distress. So these are techniques, and they're called diaphragmatic breathing skills, progressive muscle relaxation, and then applied relaxation skills. And they all help you with, basically easing that physical tension. So let's talk about diaphragmatic breathing. Now, there are many apps that you can use. There's Headspace, and there's Calm, and there's belly breathing. There are many different apps. The key is really that it has to retrain the way that you breathe and release enough carbon dioxide and not take in too much oxygen. So it really is that balance. And research shows that when that balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen is good, then you feel less stress. So it takes work to retrain your breathing. So one is to really learn by contrast. And what is chest breathing? What is diaphragmatic breathing? And learning the difference is important. The key features of diaphragmatic breathing are to breathe slowly, to breathe through your abdominal muscles, not your thoracic muscles, using pleasant imagery to enhance and augment the state of relaxation. And then finally, there's a meditative component that helps you, again, enhance your relaxation. And if you do these about, let's say, 10 minutes twice a day, it can really increase your state of wellness throughout the day. And it takes time. In the beginning, it's hard enough to learn how to do slow and abdominal breathing. So I'm going to do a 1-minute breathing exercise with you. And if you can do pleasant imagery, of course, by all means, but at the very least, if you can slow your breathing right now and do abdominal breathing. So just sit back on your chair. Okay, you'll have to watch the screen, and it will tell you when to inhale, when to hold your breath, when to exhale, and then again, when to hold your breath. So we'll do this for about a minute. And again, this really has to be practiced twice a day, not when you're under stress, to actually achieve the true benefits of it. So let's do it for a minute, okay? So that's just a taste of it for you. But of course, this is a skill that you'll need to practice regularly. The second skill is progressive muscle relaxation. And again, that is a hard exercise to learn, but once you learn it, it is so effective, right? Again, you learn by contrasting tension and relaxation, again, using pleasant imagery. Ultimately, you practice with cues for later reminders. So you might practice with a cue word that would help you imagine the sights and sounds and smells and tactical sensations that will be present in the images that you help create. Ultimately, you also learn how to relax by recall. And finally, you learn how to use this skill where you let go of negative thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, but without force, not trying to suppress it, but letting them go. So again, this takes a while to achieve, but once you do, it is not only a feeling that will achieve relaxation for you in the moment, but practice of it a couple of times a day will create a sense of well-being throughout the day. And often it's combined with breathing exercises. The third is applied relaxation. And what that means is that once you learn these skills of breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, that after you master that let go exercise during PMR, then we teach you how to apply that when you notice early signs of tension and anxiety. And that's when it really has the maximal benefits, where you learn how, and that's what will actually help with, reducing that physical tension, letting go of that, creating that sense of relaxation, not a headache. That's when you will notice that you're no longer clenching your jaw, grinding your teeth. So this again takes practice and application, practice and application. And again, it's not to be used to avoid negative feelings or thoughts or situations. It's not to suppress them, right? Or to avoid them. It really is an exercise to enhance well-being. So now we've gone through the physical retraining, and the last one is really the thoughts. So one thing we know is that thoughts, your inner dialogue, is so powerful, right? So we need to adjust our risk perception. Yes, we're in danger, and the media inflates risk perception, right? So thanks to evolution, our mind is built to pay attention to threat. So the medias have really become captains of our consciousness, right? The actual risk is not equal to the perception of risk. We have a buggy risk perception in our brain. So as an example, this going over the speed limit is dangerous, yet people still do it. The current estimate of deaths from coronavirus are about over 200,000 now. It's terrible, and it's true. However, putting it into context, 600,000 people will die from heart disease in 2020, right? And so there's no scoreboard. If we had that same scoreboard of people dying from heart disease, that would definitely raise our fear level. And despite the significant risk of heart disease, right, it's the number one killer in the United States. Most people don't worry about it too much. If they did, they wouldn't be, they'd be eating celery instead of hamburgers, right? We would be not watching TV, we'd be exercising more. But of course, so it's not to suggest that COVID is not dangerous. Of course it is. But if we assume it's even a higher risk than it is, that will just not be helpful to us. So adjusting that risk perception is a way of reducing our stress. You can still take protective measures like washing your hands and being physically distant and just still controlling your mind. So that helps us decatastrophize. The other thing we know is that if you assume that you can't cope with bad things, it makes you more stressed out. So if you, essentially your inner dialogue, if you realize, okay, even if I get the virus, it will be horrible. If I'm not in a risk group, right, I can cope with it. I can cope with being sick, and I can cope with this, right? So it's, in a sense, the more you think you can't cope with bad things, the more stressed out you feel. So it's a way of retraining your brain. So other thoughts that you can do now, the collective data from, adverse events like world wars and other adverse events, we know that resilience is the norm, that most people are fine and get better, right? In terms of psychologically recovering from adversity. So one is definitely normalize any reactions you feel, right? And the more you can create and foster balanced, less inflexible, so more flexible, less negative thoughts, and less extreme and polarized ways of thinking, right? The better it is for you, right? So seeing things in shades of gray, not black or white, all or nothing, right? So the more that you can have balanced thoughts. Now, the other thing we know from research is that the more non-judgmental you are of yourself and of others, the less stressed out you feel. So focusing on being non-judgmental, focusing on benign perceptions of other people. So if someone doesn't call you back, it's, maybe they're stressed out or busy, not that they're out to, they don't like you. So not having malignant perceptions or assumptions that people are doing things purposely, right? So the more you think that, the more it affects your health. So fostering benign perceptions, somebody may just be busy, that's why they haven't called you back, as an example, right? The other thing we know is that fostering balanced optimism. So yes, we are in some danger and life will go back to normal. So expecting that things will get better will help de-stress you as well. So thinking of silver linings, what are you grateful for? Or what am I grateful for? No commute, right? All my work travel was canceled. I was able to experience more solitude, focusing on life essentials. I spent more time with my daughter who was back in college, which I appreciated. And I've been so grateful to be able to work, right? Grateful that I can contribute and help de-stress you, as an example. Like, it makes me feel very happy and grateful that I can do that. And I've been connecting more with other people. So really thinking of silver linings and thinking of what you're grateful for will also help your stress level. So here's the acronym, right? Here are the ADAPT skills for you. Accept how I feel, but dial it down. Take actions, right, to combat your negative emotions. Physically, do some exercises to ease your sustained tension, and then combat those negative thoughts, because those then otherwise enhance stress. So it's time to adapt. If you'd like to master these ADAPT skills and other related skills, such as communication skills or executive functioning skills, they're all habit change skills. Or if you want to arrange workshops, you can ask for CBT. At CBC, we conduct telehealth wellness sessions and workshops, and of course, treatment for consumers of all ages. So here's a number if you'd like to call us to arrange something. And if you'd like to be on our website, on our training list, please email us at info@cbc-psychology.com. We have offices in Westchester and New York City. And our website is www.cbc-psychology.com. So to end, I just want you to say to yourself, life will go back to normal one day, and I will be fine. COVID-19 will also pass. Humankind will survive. Almost all of us will still be alive in this aftermath. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. McGinn. I do have a couple of questions that are coming in. What do sessions cost, and are they covered by insurance?
Yes and yes. So the cost of the session depends on the person you see. So if you'd like to call that number, you can give, what range and depending on that, you will get a provider who is more senior or intermediate in their profession, or just starting out, or junior. So you can get a whole range of fees. And yes, it is covered by insurance. We are out-of-network providers, so it depends on what your insurance will cover for out-of-network.
So we're getting many thanks to you and for trying to add order to an unorderly, conflicting, and confusing time. So thank you for that. And would you also recommend, would you also recommend TM techniques for de-stressing?
Ultimately, meditation is effective. I'm not personally familiar with TM, but there is research on meditative.
I think it's probably time management, possibly.
Oh, time management. Yes. So that's one of the things that we also train. So we do workshops on it as well as wellness sessions. So time management can be very effective as a training because it can help you overcome things like procrastination. Now, there are many reasons for why people are not able to manage time, right? It could be that they have executive functioning deficits. It could be that anxiety is getting in the way. So the most important thing is really that what we do is, that's sort of idiographic evaluation, which pinpoints the exact reason for why that's going on. And then it depends on that. And then, of course, that would be an effective skill for some people.
And I am being corrected. It's actually transcendental meditation.
Yeah, that's what that was my initial understanding, but in any case, meditation, there have been studies on meditation. So meditation also teaches you breathing. I'm not personally familiar with transcendental meditation, but meditation is certainly good for you.
Great. I have another question for you. Are you scheduling workshops for company employees via Zoom?
Absolutely. That has just gone through the roof, right? So we are doing many, many different workshops, on the things that I mentioned, or we've even had we've done trainings on parent management, right? People are struggling with balancing parenting and childcare. So we've even done parent sessions. So there's a whole range of skills, and I'm happy to send out the kinds of things that we do workshops on if you're interested.
That would be wonderful. At the present time, I'm not seeing any other questions. But again, on behalf of the Hudson Gateway Association Realtors, thank you so much for joining us today. And this was very, very helpful, I think, for all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate being invited. And I appreciate to contribute to de-stressing this important group of professionals.
Absolutely.
Thank
Take
you.
care and thank you so much. Our next session will begin at 10:30. So you all have a little quick break right now, and we'll see you back here at 10:30. Thank you all.